fancy meet computers. How is everybody? How is everybody today on this chilly November morning with very nice clouds? I have to say that Earth has really put a lot of effort into cloud rendering today. It looks pretty good, I have to say. Very realistic. Have I finally lost the class? Mr. Freshly Squeezed is in the chat, but I don't see anybody else. Maybe it's because I didn't play the funky tunes. I forgot to hit go live. Actually, I think when that happens, when like I send the stream, like if I turn on the stream at like 5 minutes to the half hour, and then it's collecting data in the YouTube buffer. So I think, like possibly, hypothetically, you might be able to like go back to the beginning of the stream before it was like officially live. Like I'm pretty, like I can do that. I can like pull my history all the way back, I think, to when it was just the funky tunes. Or maybe not, because there's a lot of blank space. No, yeah. Yep. Maybe. Anyway. Oh, shoot. I know why there's nobody here. Oops. Damn it. Oh boy, it's gonna be one of those mornings, isn't it? Forgot to share the links on Avenue. Gosh darn it. There. Oops. There we go. Yeah, the link is not posted. Thou hast disappointed thy people and must atone for one's sins. Okay. Hey, don't ratio me. Well, actually, maybe you do want to ratio me just to remember, so that you remember what it feels like to ratio someone once they take away the ability to ratio someone. Yeah. So for those of you, I literally just put the announcement out. So yeah, sorry about that, folks. So here's a little bit of a life hack. When I make the videos, even before I post the links to Avenue, you can actually still get at the videos through the playlists, apparently. So if ever I forget this again, you can access this. You can access the lectures by just going to the playlists on YouTube, apparently. So yeah. Sorry about that, folks. No need. Next week is last week. Next week is not last week. Pretty sure we've got week after next week. It's last full week. But last day of class is 8th of December, methinks. Next week is the last week of classes? No! Fake news! Nope, fake news. Last day of classes is the 8th of December. Don't not come the last 2 days, please. Yeah. I mean, it's very, very close. It's very, very close to the last week, right? But we do, in fact, have 2 lectures. Yep. Thank you. It is nice having a significant other who can sneak you a sneaky tea while you're on stream. Thanks, honey.
You're welcome.
Let's see. Have I been ratioed? I don't know. Maybe. All right. So, what topics are on test 2? That's a decent question. How do you feel about making websites using Python? I think with libraries, Flask or Django. I'm not really into web development, to be completely honest with you. Probably should be, but yeah. Yeah. Basically, any of the TAs would be better people to talk about web tech, but if you're interested in a class on web tech, I would recommend taking 1XD3, which is kind of funny because XD, you know. But yeah. Yeah. Databases. Yeah, we're going to be doing databases soon. But that would mean that we would need to get on with it. So, let me just talk about test 2 very, very quickly. So, test 2 is going to need the main topics of focus in test 2 are definitely testing and exceptions and the classes stuff. That's like the main stuff we've covered, right, since test 1. Also file I/O. You can expect some file I/O on that as well. Yeah, so I would recommend brushing up on the testing and materials, classes, and file I/O material. So there you go. Anything we have covered in class up to this exact minute. Yes. Actually true. Yeah. So. Oh, yeah, and recursion. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Yeah, there's a little bit of recursion on there as well. Is it 4 question plus 1 bonus like the last time? I think so. Yeah, I think it is 4 question plus 1 bonus like last time. Or maybe it's 5 question plus 1 bonus. I don't know. How difficult? What's the difficulty of the test compared with the assignments? I'd say it's less difficult than an assignment, but you know, I've been wrong about that in the past. Generally speaking, my impression of how difficult something is not necessarily like commensurate with your impression of how difficult something is. Will there be a question on the test like last, where if we don't use recursion, we don't get the marks? I can't remember if we. I think. I believe there's like one. No, I'm thinking of a question we were saving for the exam. Ask Mark. Oh, recursion. Yeah, no, you should learn to make recursion your friend. Make friends with what you don't know. Is web dev programming? Is HTML programming? HTML is not programming, but there's plenty of stuff that is web technologies that is programming. Not gonna lie, I love recursion because of Haskell. Thank you! Haskell is recursion. Please don't do this to us, recursion in Haskell. The test case is going to be split so that we can still get part marks on the questions. Yeah, I think that after the after what happened and the manner in which test 1 was adjusted, my understanding is the TAs are still working on the test cases. Like, we like to get the test cases done before we send the test out, of course. But I think that we would be well advised to arrange the test cases in the same manner as we did previously. And I'm sure Mark will agree with that. Program namming. Yes. Yes. Web dev is the most popular programming. That doesn't make it right. Just, like, if all of your friends were jumping off a cliff, would you jump off a cliff too? Recursion's got to be the worst friend I ever had. Well, you know what they say, keep your friends close and recursion closer. Would you say the midterm is harder than the previous one? That's a good question. The midterm deals with more difficult subjects, right? So in that sense, it's like the material is harder since the last time, so any test of the material is going to be harder. That being said, I've tried to keep this one like a little bit less extreme. Mark thought it should have one more question, and I was like, nah, I think that's enough. And he was like, but another question, though. And I was like, save it for the exam. Why is HTML not a programming language? Because it's a markup language. It's like I do these slides in a document generation system called LaTeX, right? This is LaTeX. It looks like code, but it's not code. Everything's just formatting tags. And, like, I know that HTML gets a little bit, like, you know, almost kind of, you know, like I think technically speaking, you can do stuff in HTML that's Turing complete, which technically makes it a programming language. But in general, we do not consider HTML to be a programming language the same way we don't consider a Word document to be a programming language. I am the friend who's jumping. No! Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you get 1,000 subscribers, could I give you plus 5%? No, sorry, I can't do anything like that. Okay, so technically LaTeX is also Turing complete. I know that. Anyway, we should continue on with our lecture, or else we'll just be sitting here talking about nonsense all day. So, YAML. So, in our brief survey of the slightest fraction of the number of file formats that are in existence, we're going to cover YAML. So this is actually an addition that has been made to this course this semester. We got rid of XML because XML is getting old and it's not as applicable as it once was. So YAML is an important and interesting one to know because it's sort of an up-and-coming format for configuration files for various types of software systems that you will probably end up using in courses like 1xC3 and 1xD3. It's a very sort of industry-applicable file format. So, So what is a YAML file? A YAML file is a plain text markup language which represents key value pairs and lists just like JSON. It can also support custom types. YAML emphasizes human readability and minimal syntax. So, syntactically, the transformation that brought Python syntax out of C syntax is the same type of transformation that takes JSON and produces YAML. Fundamentally, YAML and JSON are essentially the same things, doing essentially the same jobs. It's just YAML is much more it's much more fluid and easy and readable for a person who is a person and not a computer. A lot less redundant braces, shall we say, and a reliance on indentation to indicate nesting. So, here is an example of a YAML file. So, essentially, do I write LaTeX in a text editor, or is it better in an IDE? So I use an IDE called TextMaker, but that's kind of the fun thing about LaTeX is it's like basically there are only two reasons I use TextMaker, and one is you got some good shortcut keys and you can like auto-configure some shortcut keys, which is fun and nice and cool. And also, like, it's like F6 to compile, which is always... I always find, like, the most useful part of any editor is, like, the hotkey for compilation. But, yeah. But we don't have to talk about... You don't have to learn LaTeX just yet. Especially, like, people who are not in comp sci particularly don't even have to worry what LaTeX even is. So with a YAML file, sort of think about dictionaries, right? You've got key value pairs here, which are like if you just drew a curly brace here and a curly brace at the end, you would have a dictionary, right? And put the commas in between. So it's like the commas are implied by new lines. The braces are left out. That's implied by the existence of the colons. And if you want a list, it's like it's a hyphen delimited list of items. SoftEng and Mechatronics both need LaTeX as well. Yeah, but, you know, they are taking their own first-year Python programming course right now, so, yeah. So, in terms of syntax, you've got block format, which is more readable, and flow format, which is basically JSON. So, an interesting thing about YAML is that it is considered a quote-unquote superset of JSON. So all JSON files are valid YAML files, right? But not all YAML files are valid JSON. Essentially, if you take a JSON file and you leave all of the braces and commas in, that constitutes a valid YAML file. However, if you leave the braces out and you use the tabbing and you use the hyphens, now you're in sort of pure YAML territory. It's just a YAML file. So, in block format, the colon character is used for key value pairs. These are also called maps. Lists are represented by lines which begin with a hyphen. White space matters. Tabs indicate nesting, and only one value is allowed per line. And it allows scalar and custom data types, just like JSON. Quotes are not needed for most strings. In flow format, again, it allows for curly braces and square braces to denote maps and lists, respectively. So essentially, flow format is JSON. It's interesting to consider, like, prior to the existence of YAML, many configuration files were done in JSON, but of course JSON is kind of a pain in the butt to do anything with. So so YAML came along, but in order to sort of insinuate itself into the discipline, it's like it maintains back compatibility with JSON so that old configuration files still work with programs expecting YAML. But so an example, yes, we have a few. This is an example of a YAML file. This is a configuration file with a configuration file for an online development tool, Node.js. So there you go. You're going to see YAML files in 1xc3 as well if you see it, if you take it, and if I so long as nobody except if somebody else is teaching 1xc3, which I hope they aren't, I hope I am, but if they are and they don't throw all of my labs that I wrote over the summer in the bin, then you'll be seeing some YAML. But yeah. So, unlike JSON, Python doesn't have a built-in library for parsing YAML, but you can easily install it through pip. So, pip install pyyaml. It's possible that this also comes in Anaconda. Yeah. Get used to YAML if you use Docker Compose, says Mark. Yes, but that doesn't mean anything to them yet because they're not, they don't know integrated tool chains yet, Mark. They don't. Be easy on them. They're still new to this. Is my bow tie, very... Yeah. Yeah, continuous integration or continuous development. Yeah, Jason knows what he's talking about, but you guys will get an introduction to continuous integration in 1xc3. So, use yaml.safeload or yaml.load to load YAML files into a dictionary. These can then be used like Python dictionaries or lists or JSON files. So essentially, when you import, so when you load a YAML file, so long as you're calling the correct methods, the thing that you get out as a result will be precisely identical to the data structure that you got from the JSON loader, right? So there you go. So if we were to open the previous configuration file, it would be with openconfig.yaml as file, which should be standard by now. Config is equal to yaml.load file loader yaml.safeloader. Then we can just print the stuff in the file as we would normally. Ta-ra! So, Docker is used in countless configurations for applications, infrastructure, and web services. For example, Amazon Web Services, Docker, Nginx. Oh. Sounds like the baby fell over. Travis CI, GitHub, etc. all use YAML for config. In 1xc3, we will be using GitHub quite a lot. And GitHub, in GitHub, they use YAML files to configure, essentially, the point of, the thing that we're doing here, the thing that we're going to be doing, when you have a repository, which is basically a place online where you keep code, only a dummy does routine tasks themselves, right? The whole... Sure, baby. Yeah, I think Felix is okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fine.
I dropped something. He didn't fall down, but he started crying.
Oh, okay. It's just something fell in his vicinity. It wasn't actually him that fell. But yeah, So, so, so essentially, like, very, very rough overview, right? Many, many applications are being developed with these kinds of integrated web, like, integrated services that allow you to automate certain tasks. One of those tasks, for example, is testing. So essentially, you can configure it so that whenever anybody tries to add code to a repository, that repository automatically runs a bunch of tests on it to make sure that it's good code, and thereby prevents bad code from being added to the repository, which can be very, very good. Yeah, so, yeah, TLDR, automate your development. Absolutely. The less that you have to do yourself, the more time you can spend on tasks that are actually useful. It used to be that, you know, it sort of requires you to be a bit more of an all-arounder when it comes to development, because, like, you have to know how to do proper testing, you know, but this is like what, yeah. But yeah. But yeah, anyway, we should move right along. YAML is very applicable to the modern development scene. Let's just say it that way. I'm thankful now I don't ever need to change another diaper. Well, you never know where life will lead you. But hopefully, if you ever have to change another diaper in your life, it will be because you choose to, not because you have to. So, let's talk about dates. I can't stress this enough. Use YAML safe loader at all times when working with it. Okay. Yep. So. Yeah. So. Dates. Let's talk about how to get dates. Ha ha ha. I named one of my, like, early on I named one of my lectures how to get dates, and then I got, like, all of those links to, like, Russian porn sites. It was amazing. I didn't click any of them, but you know what they are, because, like, the names are in Cyrillic. But, I'm still traumatized about the time my brother was sick. Ew, yes. Okay, so you want to know the secret to getting dates? Import the Datetime library. Wah, wah. No, the actual secret to getting dates is to just put yourself out there, be yourself, because if you're not yourself, like if you pretend to be someone you're not going to be able to keep that up the rest of your life, so it's not a good long-term strategy. And when you're thinking about getting into a long-term relationship with someone, you have to think long-term. That's kind of the definition. But yeah. Don't be afraid. Everybody is a person, you know? But anyway. So, let's talk about working with dates. So, in the world, there have been many different ways that human beings have stored information about time, right? Currently in use in the world, you have the Gregorian, Bengali, Chinese, Ethiopian, Hebrew, Hindu, Iranian, and Islamic calendars. Historically, you also have things like the Julian calendar and the Mayan calendar. They're like pretty much like most large, distinct cultures had their own way of going about it, right? Within a calendar system, there are many complications. Like, keeping track of time, it turns out, is a very complicated thing. It is complicated by many factors. The rotation of the Earth, the tilt of the Earth, the position of the Earth around its orbit in the Sun, the fact that the orbit of the Earth around the Sun is slightly elliptical. Thankfully not too elliptical, because that would be problematic. Friggin' the Earth as a comet. Jeez. The moon has an effect. The moon is tidally locked to the Earth, so the same face of the moon is always facing the Earth, but the Earth is like the gravitational force on the Earth causes the Earth to churn on the inside, which is what causes magma. You know. Yeah. Listen. Alright, fine. So, anyway. So, essentially, Dr. Moore, you forgot the most important calendar, the North Korean calendar. The calendar where every day on the calendar is Worship Dear Leader Day. Is that the North Korean calendar? I forget. And I mean literally worship when I say that. Yeah, I can assure that she does. I can assure you that she does exist, and Felix also exists. She's just shy. She doesn't like being on stream. Anyway, so that's a lot of information about time. So across the world, there are different ways of encoding time. Even if you've agreed upon the calendar, you are not necessarily in agreement about what should come first, right? So in the world, you have do you do day, month, year, smallest to largest? Do you do month, day, year? Put the month first, because that's how people usually speak. October 20th, 2020. That's the direct translation. Do you put the largest first and then go down to the smallest? Do you use some combination of the two? This is generally speaking the date format that you can expect wherever you are on the planet. So you can see that a large proportion of the planet uses day, month, year. Personally, I prefer it. I think it makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't worry about leap seconds. So, essentially, we don't have to worry about leap seconds because everything syncs to the internet now. But back in the day, holy smokes. Why does Canada gray? Canada does gray because in Canada it is sort of common and acceptable to see date formats in any format. So that's just Canada is the least, it's light gray is countries for which no information is acquired, and dark gray is you can see literally anything in your day-to-day life. But yeah. So yeah. Anyway. So this is just to illustrate the problem of date formats, right? I had a meme that I put, or maybe I didn't publish this meme, but I'll show you a meme that illustrates the point. If it's in my, where is it here? I think it's in used. Let's see here. There we go. So, how do you work? It's 12/11/2021. Which one is the month? Yes, exactly. Fun fact, Google smears leap seconds over the entire day to avoid breaking stuff. Oh, that's interesting. So they basically just redefined what a second is then. I hope that doesn't take, because, like, the speed of light is, like, dependent on how long the second is, you know? So, so essentially, you have the datetime object in Python. The datetime module provides classes to represent dates and times and to manipulate them. Datetime.date is a class representing dates in the Gregorian calendar, which is the one that we all use, or at least, you know, the one that is most universally used and applicable. We have datetime.time, a class representing a time on an abstract day. So you've got essentially date has 3 fields, year, month, and day. Time has hour, minute, second, microsecond, and time zone. Datetime.datetime is a class representing both a date and a time. And datetime.timeDelta is for representing the difference between 2 time or date objects for the purposes of arithmetic. Yes. So, this is how it would work. From datetime, import datetime. Actually, let's just do this in terminal. Terminal, 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 terminal. Increase the size. There we go. Python 3. So, from datetime, import datetime as dt. There we go. So, dt.now. This is the current time. You can see the current time moves as I call it. You can see if I wait like 5 seconds, 5 seconds goes by, or that was actually 3 seconds. But you get the point. So, let's see. So the test 2 is dt. When is the test? It's Sunday, so it's 2021. It's Saturday. The day is 20. The month is 11. The day is 27. The time is 9 o'clock in the morning. 0 minutes, 0 seconds. There we go. Test 2. There we go. So test 2 minus dt.now. We have 3 days, 82,286 seconds until the test. You can see that goes down every time I call the function. So there you go. Yeah. So, is T2 also a 24 hours test? It is! Yes, it is. All of the tests are like that. So the question then immediately becomes, okay, sure, but how do I convert strings? Often you'll get datetime information in the form of a string, so it's useful to know how to parse one. There are many string formatting options to print parts of a datetime object. Use the string format time method of the datetime object. So, let's say, just for the sake of argument, we had a date whatever. The first day of history, the 1st of January, 1970. Right? If we want to, what we need to do Oh, right, okay, I'm going in the wrong direction. Sorry. We'll do reading next, but what we want to do right now, we have this time delta object, right? Let's say test2. If we want to print that out, string format time, and then we put the format tag. So let's say we wanted to do year slash, there we go, day, month, just to be different, dash dash, hour, oh, minute, second. You can see that it takes this somewhat clumsy way of printing it out, right? And it actually formats it as a string in the manner that we want. Right? That's cool. Are we supposed to know how to read a clock for the midterm? Yes, you have to know how to read a clock for the midterm. For time delta, why is days equal to 3? Because there are 3 full days between now and the midterm. Is it case sensitive? Yes. So if you'll notice, lowercase m maps you to months, whereas uppercase m maps you to minutes. So yeah, it's case sensitive. Different cases mean different things. You also have a bunch of other tags, like, for example, capital A. That tag gives you the spelt name of the week. So datetime.now, or sorry, dt.now dot strf time. Oop, there we go. Today is A. Today is Tuesday. I'm pretty sure you can get it to print off. Yeah. So A is like the spelt name of the week. B is the spelt name of the month. So you could say something like, today is day, month, day, year. Today is November 23rd, 2021. Someone asked, oh my, do you know the year 2000 problem? What caused that? That's an interesting question. So, I actually, like, a lot of you friggin' millennials... Wait, you're not millennials. I'm millennial. You're Zoomers. You friggin' Zoomers don't even remember this. Because, like, you're not old enough to, because you were born too late. But I remember Y2K. So it's not the year 2000 problem. The problem has a specific name, and that is Y2K. Right? The Y2K bug. So essentially, the concern was that in many of these older computer systems, they had not, like, when they had designed these things in the 70s, they had assumed that they would be superseded, a lot of these computer systems, by the year 2000, so they didn't bother putting, like, they didn't store the date correct in enough bits to represent that large a date number, right? So the idea is that what everybody thought was going to happen was, like, at midnight, at the turn of the new millennium, essentially everyone's clock would overflow. So, like, everybody's computer clock would overflow, and, like, planes would crash out of the air, and the banking system would implode, and it's like, people thought, that Y2K was going to be the apocalypse, that modern society would come crashing down around us because of this software glitch. It got a lot of traction in the news, and, like, I remember walking into a Staples in 1999 looking for a computer game for my computer on a CD-ROM, and I remember, like, a chess software, like a chess game, like, you know, used to be you had to buy a CD to get software. Now you can just get it for free on the internet, but before internet times, you would, if you wanted a chess program for your friggin' computer, you had to go out and buy a CD at Staples. So I remember on the jewel case for this CD, for this chess software, it said Y2K compatible on it. And it's like, it's an operating system, you dunces. It's like brand cereal, now with more bran. Doesn't make any goddamn sense. But yeah, anyway. But yeah, so anyway, that was Y2K. They fixed the problem. Nothing happened. I remember I like loaded up my my compact Presario, my Windows 95 machine in the year 2000 after Y2K, and it was like the date had been set to like January 1st, 1970, and I just like set it manually to the year 2000, and it was fine. So yeah. So, will Datetime be on the test? It will not be on the test, but it might be on the exam. So, that's how you print off a date all pretty like. If you want to read one in, on the other hand, you use SRP time. So, if we say, you know, Christmas is equal to datetime.strp time, you give it a string. So say, for example, December 25th, 2021. The second argument is another format string. So if you provide lowercase b, that's abbreviated month name. You have to match the format of the string that you're trying to parse. D and comma and year. Name, date, time. DT. There we go. So Christmas is this particular time. It reads the information correctly. And if we wanted to do, for example, the amount of time remaining until Christmas, we would do Christmas minus dt.now. So we've got 31 days until Christmas. Huzzah! Yes. So, good. I'm going to run through time zones very quickly because I don't think it's super relevant, because I won't ask you to work with time zones in this course. You have to be very careful when you're dealing with dates and times that may involve multiple time zones. Python's datetime objects can have a time zone set for them. It's an optional parameter. And then it is possible to convert between one time zone and another. So, the recommended approach, keep all Python datetime objects in universal time coding, or UTC. Sorry, coordinated universal time. Probably the acronym is in French. Convert to relevant time zones for printing. The easiest way is to use the external package pytz to help with time zones. This can handle daylight savings time, leap years, leap seconds presumably, etc., etc. So, in case you are wondering what the acronyms mean, GMT stands for Greenwich Mean Time, so the time in Greenwich, England. For whatever reason, the prime meridian goes right through Greenwich, England, so time is considered 0 in Greenwich. UTC is Universal Coordinated Time, generally accepted international time format. It's roughly equivalent to GMT. So it's like, you know, right here in Hamilton, Ontario, we're in +5, so whatever time it is in Greenwich, England, we are 5 hours ahead of it. Yeah. Yeah, I know there was a typo. So, if you wanted to read in time zones, this is how you would do it. You import PyTZ. You set a time zone equal to time zone Eastern/Canadian. There's a whole list of these that you can look up. You set the time zone info to pytz.utc. That's the before. You then can print before and after as time zone TZ. So there you go. That's how you can do it. So yeah, there we go. And this is a more complicated example that we won't do. We have finished Datetime. It's not a long unit. That's it. Any questions? We are living in the future. Incorrect. We are living at the inflection point between history and possibility. Datetime speedrun complete. Yeah, I know, right? I'd like to get to the databasing stuff because I think it's very interesting and valuable. The next topic is visualization. I'm not going to be able to speedrun it, though, in the, -1 minutes that we have. Basically, the next one is we're going to learn how to do graphs and shit. Like this. What about the machine learning stuff? If we have time. If we have time. So, visualization does not mean me teaching you how to do, like, compute shaders and three-dimensional rendering. We're talking about, graphing stuff, specifically. Yeah, I applied for one of the department time turners, but my application was denied because they're all in use. They teach machine learning and linear algebra? That's crazy. Machine learning right now is like the easy way to get papers. It's like, oh, you have some problem? Machine learning. Boom, paper. $3DB and $3SD3 bought them all to prevent students being able to do their coursework. Wah, wah. PyLab, my beloved. Yes. Matplotlib. How shall I compare thee to a summer's day, Matplotlib? Anyway, I've got another class to get to, so I'm going to sign off here. Thank you very much for your time and attention, folks, and we'll see you in the next one.